السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، ومرحبا بكم لبرنامجكم السيدة ينسن وجيرانها العرب. هذا البرنامج يبث 4 مرات في الأسبوع، وهدفنا هذا البرنامج هو نعطيكم معلومات على المجتمع الدنماركي، وكذلك ما هي حقوقك وواجباتك وكيف الحصول على حياة طيبة وسعيدة في هذه البلاد. إذا يكون عندك أي تعليق أو اقتراح على هذا البرنامج نطلب منك تلقى منا في الهاتف أو في الإيميل. ضيفنا اليوم هو السيد باشي قريشي. مرحبا بك يا أخي، وتتكلم باللغة الإنجليزية. Good afternoon and welcome to your program, Mrs. Jensen and her Arabic neighbor. This program is broadcasted 4 times a week. It's our duty to discuss with you what is going on here in Denmark and in the whole world. For that, we have Mr. Bashy Quraishy, a very known politician in Denmark, and welcome to you, my friend.
Thank you, Hamid.
Bashi, how are you today?
I feel much better. I didn't shave, but it's because of laziness, but I feel much better. My health is fine, okay, and I'm very happy.
We are every time very glad to have you here. We are going to discuss a lot of things.
Okay.
First, you have been at what you call OSCE conference, yes, in Warsaw.
Yeah.
What is that?
Well, OSCE is the largest collection of countries. It is called Organization of Security and Cooperation in Europe. But it is not only in Europe, it has 56 countries, members.
Europe only?
Not only Europe, but also America, Canada,
okay, yeah,
Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan.
Okay.
So there are 56 countries, and their main aim is to discuss, actually, to give guidelines and to keep an eye on how Europe is developing. But of course, Europe is not just one geographical area. It has a cultural background, it's a historical background, and it is very close to USA and Russia and other areas. So mostly but it's not only the security they discuss everything.
Everything.
Yes.
What do you mean? Not on, but what discrimination in Europe, for instance?
Yeah, you're right. Well, because this is an organization which discuss everything, so they cannot simply avoid discrimination in Europe. So under OSCE, there are many departments. And one of the departments is ODHIR, which deals with human rights. And every year they have conference, it's called Human Rights Dimension, where they discuss discrimination, inequality, intolerance. And this year, they were discussing 3 very important topics under religious discrimination. There was, number 1, there was discrimination, which is anti-Semitism, discrimination against Jewish people. Then they were discussing also, they don't call it Islamophobia, they call it intolerance against Muslims, but it's the same thing. And then Christianophobia. So all kind of discrimination against religious minorities was discussed this time.
You are discussing.
Yes.
Discussing. But what about acting?
You are very right. Well, I represented AMISCO, which is European Muslim Initiative for Social Cohesion. It's not a religious organization, but it fights for the human rights of Muslim communities in Europe. It is established in 14 European countries. So when our turn came to speak and intervene, so we were talking about all this new development about Muslim communities, Islamophobia, the films, the books, and videos which are made against Islam, the burning of the Quran. So it is true that not only the discussion takes place, but it is up to the NGOs to push. And we were pushing very much. I said to the American ambassador, I said, Mr. Ambassador, I'm happy that you're sitting here listening to us, but please, when you go back to America, say to President Obama, stop killing the Muslims, because you create more hatred than goodwill. So, and tell you about the action, actually.
He was very pleased to hear that.
He was very, well, in the private, he came to me in one of the sessions. He said, Mr. Quraishy, I cannot take a position in the forum, but I can assure you that the European government is very much aware of what is happening. But again, what is happening in action is that there is a lot of geopolitical discussion, the oil and the money and the resources. So when it comes to those kind of things, then America and the Western world don't think about principles, the human right. Then they go after those goals.
Did you discuss in that conference the situation in Greece according to the racial attack? You know, the Nazis Greece people, they attack African people selling goods in Athens.
Well, there was many sessions, and the session I was involved, that was about religious discrimination. But I'm sure they have discussed lots of, because there are many parallel sessions, and I cannot go to all the sessions at the same time, but they discuss all the issues which are confronted in Europe, and economical crisis, Nazi party attacks, everything is discussed, I'm sure.
But discussing, what I want you to tell me, what kind of acting?
Well, again, European countries and USA, they are very good at discussing things. But as I said before, when their own interests are not online, then they act. But when their interests are threatened, then they act in a different way. So I think that this is one of the things which we pushed, and also pushed in their final communique, that there is a need for action now. It's not enough to discuss that, but discussion is very important so that you can hear the government position, the official understanding of the problem, but also NGOs. I went there as an NGO representative, so we were pushing for action, and we can see that it helps to speak. If there was no forum when you can talk about things, then nobody will listen what you're asking them.
Yes, but to discuss without any result, it's the same. It's better don't have any forum.
No, I don't agree with that, Hamid, because if there was no forum, then the governments will not know what people are thinking. So it's very important to have a forum where you can talk about things, where you can present certain ideas, what public is thinking, what people are thinking. Then the governments are very dependent on what you and me tell them. So I think it's good to have a forum, but at the same time, it is the people who has to push the government. It's the people who has to push the politician. Otherwise, they don't listen.
Okay. I am quite sure you have discussed the latest movie.
Yes.
Which name Innocence of Muslims.
Yes, we discussed.
Which a very stupid man originated from Egypt.
Yes.
Have made.
This is what they say.
It was very much discussed.
Yes, very much.
In what result? With what result?
Yes, well, many NGOs, I can only talk from NGOs, many NGOs and also many countries actually. There was Turkey was there, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, because there are not many Muslim countries present, but those who were there, their ambassadors took initiative and said to the meeting that one thing is to have freedom of expression, where you can speak about politics, you can say something to the president, you can say something to the elite. That is okay. But when people, media, politicians use freedom of expression to demonize a religion, only one religion, not all religion. And when you burn the Quran, when you say nasty things about the Prophet, when you present him as a pedophile or as a warlord, you hurt the feeling of 1.7 billion people. I, in my speech, also said, I said to them, look, Islam or Muslims is not a little minority group. 23% of the world population has a Muslim background. Whether they are religious or not, that's a different point. But they love their religion, they love their Prophet, and why should only Anglo-Saxon countries? I also pointed out that it is not China, Japan, India, Latin America, Africa, who insults Islam. It is only Anglo-Saxon countries, meaning Europeans and Americans. They are after, and there must be an agenda behind that. And it is not constructive, it is not fair, and it is not useful in a dialogue between civilization. And people have to understand that when you go after, when you not criticize but demonize, then people will react. So then we can discuss the reaction was good or bad.
Also here in Denmark, we did have some manifestation.
Very peaceful.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about that? To what use?
Well, again, politicians and decision makers are very dependent on public pressure. If they don't see that the Muslims are saying anything, are moving, are protesting, they say, fine, let it be. But when the politician realize that every action has a reaction, whether it's good or bad, that's a different situation, then they will think about that. The problem in Europe and in Denmark is that they have double moral, that they use double standards, one for their own country and one for their own culture, and the other one is for others. I'll give you an example. In Denmark, we have 5 laws against discrimination. We have a blasphemy law, we have a law against insulting the Queen, we have a law against insulting private people, we have a law against anti-Semitism, we have a law against homophobic statements, and we have a law against incitement to violence. I must not, in a public sphere, say something which can be used to commit violence. That is why many Muslims don't understand that in a country like Denmark, where there are so many laws to protect against hate speech, that nobody bothers when this hate speech is against Islam and Muslims. Then very quickly they pull this rabbit called freedom of expression. That we consider double moral, and I have spoke about that many times, and I said also in this meeting, I just want to show you, and you can see that we are here with international organizations. We sit there and we tell them. But again, as I said before, it's unfortunate that in Europe and in America, they talk a lot about freedom of speech, very much, and it's a wonderful thing. But they should also cover Islam and Muslim communities, that they feel protected, that they feel they're part of the society they live in. And not only for example, in UK, blasphemy law only protects Christianity. Not Islam, not even Judaism.
Only.
Yeah. And in 27 EU countries, 17 have blasphemy law, which people don't realize. There is laws against that. But why don't they use it? Again, your question,
Do you think our blasphemy law in Denmark, do they use it?
They have used it few times before. Yeah. But there is a law.
Okay.
Yeah. If you insult Jesus, I can take you to court.
Mr. Quraishy, you are a native from Pakistan.
I'm born in India, raised in Pakistan.
Your roots.
My roots are in Pakistan.
Pakistan.
Very much.
For a few days ago, I've heard about that 14 years old old girl who have been shot down by a stupid so-called Taliban.
That's true.
Does that mean that in Pakistan, the country you know very well, the women don't go to school, they don't have any lawyers or doctors? Or what kind of country is that?
Hamid, it's interesting that it comes from you, who knows very well. Well, the situation is that when I heard TV2 news, they presented this case as that this girl was fighting for the rights of Pakistani girls to go to school, meaning that in Pakistan girls don't go to school. This is completely lie. TV2 has its own agenda. They are very anti-Islam and very anti-minorities and very anti-developing countries. They are very nationalist in their approach. The girl who was shot in a school bus, actually, going to school by this brain dead Talibans, because when she was 11 years old, this area where she lives between the border of Pakistan and Afghanistan in a remote area. Okay, so she's
very remote,
very remote, called Swat Valley. Unfortunately, it was somehow not taken over, but it was invaded by the Taliban, and for a while it was taken over, and Pakistan government didn't take any action. And then there, in that area, they stopped girls going to school, they burned the school. There are schools all over Pakistan. And there, she, at the age of 11, started speaking about it and wrote in BBC blog and started giving interviews. Very courageous, very well-spoken young girl. And now she's 14 years old. But after the Taliban, then Pakistan Army went there and kicked them out and really destroyed all the structure. And there are schools now. But Taliban look at her as somebody who doesn't like them and who likes Obama and who is very democratic, all those things which they think is un-Islamic. And it is totally stupid. Your question about lawyers and doctors in Pakistan being women, I can tell you something with pride. Pakistan is one of the few countries in the world, not only among the Muslim countries, which had a woman prime minister 2 times. Okay, the president of the National Assembly is a woman. Our foreign minister is a woman, and there are more women per person in the Pakistani parliament than there are in Denmark. So, but these kind of news are not given by the Danish media or the Western media.
Of course.
And there has been a tremendous protest in Pakistan against the shooting of this girl. She was taken directly to the special hospital and they have removed her bullet and she's in much better situation. And
did you have any idea about her stand? What you call
she's much better now because the surgeon have removed the bullet.
Okay.
So she's in stable condition. There are 2 other girls. She's not the only one.
Okay.
There are 2 other girls because they shot like this.
Okay.
And the government has said that they know who they are and they are going to arrest them very quickly, and absolutely no mercy for them. You know, Hamid, it is a shame that these Taliban with the long beard are so stupid that they think that their primitive way of thinking is Islam, where Islam does not ask or condone people going and shooting anybody, let alone a little girl of 14 years old. So I think that this girl has really stood up for all Pakistanis. Okay. And the government is aware of that. All the ministers, even the head of the Pakistani army went there.
Okay.
And said that this kind of thing will not be accepted, you know. But you know, there are 80 million people, so the government cannot protect everybody, you know.
You know, but it's very, very important to stand up.
Oh yes.
Against that kind of stupid.
They are.
You know, they take us as hostage.
Yes.
They take our religion
as hostage. You're right, Hamid, and I tell you, this is a sad thing, and I will also add that it is the duty of the imams and the religious people in Denmark, in Europe, in the Muslim world to stand up and condemn that. They should not look at Taliban as Muslim. You know, Taliban, what they stand for, what they do is totally un-Islamic, has nothing to do with Islam. And I, in my opinion, believe, and I have written on Facebook, that these kind of people, Al-Qaeda and Taliban and all the extremists, they have done more damage to Islam than anybody else. And it is our duty to speak against them and say, this is not accepted.
So, about the situation in the Muslim world, you know, what you call the so-called...
so-called Muslim world.
Where are we going?
We are going in the wrong direction. I tell you...
what do you mean by the wrong direction?
Wrong direction is that we should be moving towards progress, towards development, socio-economical equality, education of people, you know, food for them. We are, in some countries, because of American and Western involvement and bombing and occupation, Iraq, Afghanistan bombing, it has created anger among the Muslims all over the world. And instead of
anger against who?
Against the West. against America, against Europe and NATO. And instead of standing up in politically, asking the Muslim leader to stand up in United Nations, in other forums, they go and burn the cars. They burn their property. They kill people. And I think this is the most stupid way of reacting. I mean, you're killing yourself. You're not standing up to the enemy or to the one who you criticize, but you're killing yourself. And I think that it should stop. The Muslims should not react in this. Not all Muslims do that. Remember that there is very tiny minority who do that. Even they should not react like that. They should react with intelligence. They should not react with emotions, because when you react with emotion, then your brain stops. And that is why we need to have education, education, and education. We should move forward.
But Pakistan have been independent since 47.
Yes.
In nearly 65 years or something like that. Okay. Why the analphabetism is very high?
Yes.
And in Morocco too. I am native from Morocco. Why?
Well, again, that's what I'm saying. That if Muslim countries don't spend money on education and instead buying F-16.
Exactly.
Or spending money on luxury items, big cars, and all those things, then of course education will go down. In Pakistan, we spend 18% of the budget on military. 18%. Instead
in Denmark, 7%.
That's true, but Denmark and Pakistan are two different countries. What I mean is that, look, if the Muslim countries don't realize that instead of education, they spend money on luxury and weapons and the armies, then they will go down the drain more and more. So in order to come up and move forward, they should look towards the future.